This is the walkthrough for the word test for CS12. Before we start, let's set up as requested in the test instructions. We're going to go to Tools and choose Options, and under User Information we'll make sure that we will have the appropriate user information. You should type in your name where it says name, and also put in that code word like swordfish, as I will tell you the day of the test. And then we say OK, and that's going to be now the username for this computer. Well, now, so we changed the user identity to match your name, followed by the special code. And then we want to open up, in this case, File Open, and in this case C:/exploring Word. And for the purpose of this practice test, we're going to open up Chapter 7, Case Study, Ethics in Society. This should be sitting on your computer. If not, you can always download it from the Prentice Hall website. We will say Open, and it will load the document. There's already been some track changes which have happened, and track changes is already on. If you have a different file that doesn't track changes, you might have to turn track changes on by just double-clicking on track changes to turn it on or off. Okay, so finally, right over here it says Final Showing Markup. At some point you might want to switch between Final and Final Showing Markup to either show the markup on the side or not. Whatever is what you wish. And finally we're going to change your name goes here to your actual names. Here I'm typing in my actual name, and this is going to make it easier for me to grade the test, because I'll be able to just simply look on the side and I'll get a list of all of the changes, and I could then compare it with what I expect. And I'll also be able to tell that it was you who typed it in at this specific date and time. So like that, you can't do it at home, but you'll have to do it in class during the test. Okay, so that's all the setup. And now on to the actual test. The test is composed of 11 questions, each one worth 10 points, for a total of 100 points. So let's start with question A. We're going to change the font of the words Ethics in Society to Algerian point size 26. So we'll do that by highlighting Ethics in Society. Just click with the mouse and drag, and then go to the drop down for the font. It might be Arial right now. Change it to Algerian, and change this to 26, and that will change it here. And you'll see on the side here, it will now say Formatted Fonts Default Algerian 26 point Complex Script Font, etc. So various different changes, and I could also just look at it and see that it's different. So that was part A. Part B, format the first word of each paragraph to be all caps and shadow. Let's first of all, I'm going to change this to page width, just to zoom in so I'll be able to see everything at once. What we want to do here is take the word ethics here, and how, and eventually, basically the first sentence, the first word of each paragraph, and we want to make it, we want to apply those formatting changes. And those formatting changes are not really available from the formatting toolbar over here, but instead we're going to use Format Font after selecting each of them. So we could do this one by one, or we could select them all at once. We're going to select them all at once by clicking and dragging to highlight each of them, and then I'm going to hold down on the Control key on the keyboard, hold down on the Control key while selecting the first word of every other paragraph. So here I am selecting each of these things. And now that everything has been selected, I'll choose Format, Font, and we're going to choose Shadow and all caps. for the font changes, and say OK. And then clicking outside, we'll see that this has been applied to every single paragraph. So that was question B. Question C, change every occurrence. Oh, by the way, in terms of B, you could have just done it one by one. This is just a way of doing it faster. But I don't really care which way you do it. Next up, change every occurrence of the word "or" in the document to be read and underlined. So one thing you could do is you could scan through the entire test until you find the first occurrence of the word "or." Like, for example, here's an occurrence of the word "or," and then keep on scanning, and hopefully you won't miss any of them. Or else you can use Control F, which is also, you can get there using Edit Find, and that will bring up a search dialog box, and then you could find the word "or," you could find and you look for the word "or." And furthermore, we don't want to find words like "for." On occasion, there's going to be words like, here's the word "for," business for example. So we wouldn't want to find "for," though "or" is part of the word "for." So we're going to click on this "more" and say that we're going to find whole words only. And we're not going to search for only partial words. So now the next thing we could do, once we've selected this, we could keep on clicking Find Next, Find Next, Find Next. Every single time we find next, we'll then highlight the word and then choose to format it as red and format it as underline, as the question asks us to do. Change every occurrence of the word "or" in the documents to be read and underlined. But it would be better if we could select all of them at once, and that's what I'd like to do now. So Control F, or Edit Find, find the word "or," find whole words only, and there's a little checkbox here that highlight all items found in this main document, and we'll click on Find All. And then we could just cancel or close out of this. When we do that, throughout the entire document, every single word "or" will be selected. It's a non-contiguous selection, but that's fine for us. Now we'll click on the underline formatting button, this icon here, and we'll click on font color red, and it will make all of those red and underlined. So that was question C. Question D, format all paragraphs after your name starting with ethics as 2 columns. What this is asking for, as you see, we have ethics and society here. So here is a new paragraph, ethics refers to, etc., etc. We'd like to have every single paragraph in the document as being in 2 columns. Although ethics and society, we want to have this kind of masthead at the top, and we don't want it to be as part of the 2 columns. Now, when we do this, is actually going to insert a second section. So the ethics and society is going to be in the first section, and then this paragraph, ethics refers to, is going to be the second section. Even though, as you have in the sample test, the inserting the page number is later, I might, at the actual time of the test, just switch the order of the questions such that we won't have problems in terms of one page number or one header or footer being different than the other. Because if you insert it before you make this change between sections, then it should be consistent, but otherwise you might have certain inconsistencies. But for now, let's just continue as it's been written. So we're going to format all paragraphs after your name starting with ethics as 2 columns. I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to just drag down, 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 or I could use hold down on the Shift key and use the down arrow or page down to select all of the various paragraphs. And then I'll choose Format, Columns, choose 2 columns, just in case this went too quickly. Format, Columns, choose the 2 column preset and say OK. And then the entire document will be in 2 columns. And that was the end of question D. And now question E, adjust the margins so the top and the bottom of margins are 0.95 inches. To do that, we could either double click over here in this margin, or else we could choose File, Page Setup, make sure we're on the Margin tab, and just type in, for the top margin, 0.95. You can't use the up and down arrows because it won't give you the 0.95, it'll give you 0.9, 0.8, etc. And similarly for the bottom, we'll change this to 0.95. And then we'll say OK. That's going to be the end of this the first half of the test. We'll resume in a moment.